The Punisher, one of Marvel Comics' first anti-heroes and one of the biggest, made his debut in Amazing Spider-Man issue 129 in February 1974 and was created by Jerry Conway with help from Stan Lee coming up with the iconic name. Coming up on nearly 50 years since The Punisher was created, I decided to take a look back on old Frank Castle's time on the big screen and see if these movies hold up as some of the other non-MCU Marvel movies. Not a lot of people remember the 1989 Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie as fondly as Thomas Jane's Punisher or Punisher Warzone, but I have to say this is my favorite of the three films. Dolph Lundgren wouldn't have been my first choice for the role, and in all honesty, he's ass in this, but it was like his fourth role, so I'll cut him some slack. As jam-packed as the 80s was with great action movies, this movie could have been on top of that list with the right budget, director, cast, and writing. The potential of this movie is so damn high due to its cheesiness that may turn away some fans of the genre, but when cheesy is done right, I love it. The overall story is pretty fucking cool. So basically, Frank is destroying the mob in New York until the Yakuza come in and try to corner the market since the mob is being wiped out. The mob won't go away, so the head of the Yakuza kidnaps the kids of the members of the mob, and Frank hears about this and saves the kids before he's detained. Frank saved every kid except for one, and the one he missed is the head mob's kid, so he decides to break Frank out and they go save his kid and destroy the Yakuza. Their plan works, but the mob boss tries to whack Frank, but he obviously doesn't succeed. Now the premise of the movie is outrageous, but fuck is it entertaining. Now, the main downfalls of the movie is definitely the casting of Frank Castle. See, if we had Stallone or Bruce Willis in the role with an extra couple million, this easily could have been the greatest action movie of the decade. The positives of this movie is its cheesy and over-the-top action, but I love that, like I said. Plus, the arsenal of weapons in this is so cool. Like, bro is really walking around with an M60 with a grenade launcher, Spaz 12, and a Tommy gun. Also, the comedy in this had me laughing throughout due to its surreal nature.
Can I ask you a question?
What?
Is an IQ test required for this job?
No.
I didn't think so.
Hey, man, I got the pizza.
3 out of 5. 15 years later, Thomas Jane portrayed Frank Castle and gave him an origin story unlike the rest of the movies. The death of Frank's family has no weight to it really, and Thomas Jane's portrayal of despair when he sees his dead wife and son is just meh. Also, his son was a big Vine star, fun fact. After his family was murdered, Frank decides to destroy everything John Travolta built and stood for since he put out the hit on Frank. The entirety of this movie is only good in the action parts because outside of that you have to watch these characters act out this very mediocre script. But no disrespect to the actors. There actually was one good scene that involved dialogue.
You think you know about pain, boy? You think you know about pain? Huh? That's okay. That's okay. You gonna tell me? Dave? Little Dave? You gonna tell me?
Good scene, right? Also, fun fact, this actor Ben Foster played Angel in X-Men Last Stand, and also co-stars with Rebecca Romijn, who played Mystique. Overall, the action is okay. It's just the occasional gunfight and big explosion, but there's a great fight sequence involving the Russian. Some of the main things from this movie were taken from Garth Ennis' 2000 Punisher run, where Frank uses an apartment building as his main base for the series, and also fights the Russian, but that's the only real comic accuracy. The final act is alright, but not that Punisher-y, if you know what I'm saying. So, Frank tricks John Travolta into believing that his second in command and his wife were having an affair, so he ends up killing both of them. Then we see Frank infiltrate Travolta's headquarters and kills all his henchmen, and also sets up a very fucked up kill that we don't get to see in the end. At the end of his vengeance, he kills Travolta and leaves his calling card. 2.5 out of 5. Now for our last entry, Punisher Warzone. See, this is definitely the most comic accurate you can get in a comic book movie, but that doesn't help the film at all. In all honesty, it kinda hurts it. Punisher Warzone is inspired by the Punisher Max series, written by Garth Ennis as well, which basically is a way darker interpretation of the Punisher. And I know that sounds cool, and it is a fantastic run, but the adaptation to the big screen falls tremendously flat. The kills are lame and the CGI is horrible, so that makes it even worse. The sadistic nature of the villains is just too over the top to the point of stupidity. The acting is bad, and when there's no violence, this movie is very dull to the point I kept nodding off until I heard an explosion, which woke me up to one of the worst comic book movies ever made. 1.5 out of 5. The Punisher is one of the coolest and saddest characters ever made, and none of these movies I've covered show how great this character truly is. Jon Bernthal's interpretation of Frank Castle is one I really enjoyed on Netflix, and later in the future when Disney introduces the Punisher into the MCU, I hope they do it with him. And I hope they don't portray him as a murderous psychopath, but as someone who is broken and mad. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.